Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk with Tammy, brought to you by BKNI Resources. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, a little bit about the show. Let's Talk is basically an extension of the Women of Essence series, in which we bring in inspiring women from all walks of life to conduct seminars and workshops for underprivileged women. So, along that line, Let's Talk will function as we'll be featuring interesting personalities sharing bite-sized insights into relevant topics, and will continue to do so. I'm your host, Tammy, a lecturer by profession, scientist at heart, and Miss Malaysia 2019. My basis for the show has always been about learning from my guests, and I hope you will too. So let's get started, shall we? And I'm super excited to introduce our guest for tonight. Let me bring her into the platform. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. So please welcome Ms. Mogana Sundari, or as I fondly call her, M&M. Thank you for being on the show tonight.
Super excited.
So Ms. Mogana is basically a lawyer, currently working as a lawyer as by profession. Do you care to talk a little bit about your profession, like as in what do you mostly deal with?
So I work at it's a very long name, so bear with
All right.
me. I work
Okay.
at Azmi, Fazli, Maha, and Sim. So we are based in Publica. We
Mm-hmm.
do general litigation. There's a variety of work that we do at our firm. My team that I work with, we do construction disputes and a little bit of employment disputes as well. But yeah, that's pretty much construction. I would say is where we predominantly do our work.
Right. And Ms. Mogana is also Miss Malaysia Indian Global 2014.
Gosh, 7 years.
It's 7 years ago. Yeah. So when Morgana told me, it's so weird calling you Morgana. Can I just call you Eminem on
Yes,
the show?
yes, please.
Okay. So when Eminem told me back in 2014, right, that she's joining this beauty pageant, I was just floored by her confidence back then. Like she was only 21 years old, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna join this pageant." Like at how like just for the sake of it, and obviously I had no doubt at all that she would win because being not only because oh she's just not like I'm being biased because I was your friend or things like that, because I mean, I clearly felt that you had all it takes to become the beauty pageant queen. All the making of a queen is there. But not until, all the articles came out after you won, right? And the angle of it, the way it was being written, like it
Okay.
was a huge thing, like, it's a novelty, like, whoa, look at this. Oh wow, a dark skinned a girl can win a beauty pageant. And then I realized that I was kind of blindsided by that because
Okay.
I did not even consider that as a thing at all. And maybe I'm talking about it from a place of privilege because I have one less thing to worry about. I don't know. So I didn't think about it from your perspective that must have been hard. So my first question is, did you even consider about all of this when you
I
decided to
did.
join the pageant?
I did. Okay, so
Right. Okay.
before I go on this lengthy conversation,
Right.
please bear with me. These are all just my experiences. They're very personal, they're very intimate experiences that I got to enjoy that has
Mm-hmm.
enriched myself. So if anyone that's listening, watching, you've been in pageants, you've been and you've been through the whole process, mine does not invalidate yours. Okay, it doesn't put yours lower or better than mine. It's just one of those things where we all have just gone through it, and yes, it's all reminisce, if anything. But yes, I did think of all that. I was in
Right.
my second year of law school,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I had like a 3 month break, and I thought to myself
Right.
like, okay, let's do something fun, relatively fun. And my best friend was like, okay, why don't you join the pageant? So that's when I learned about Miss Malaysia Indian Global, short for MMIG. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, okay, why not? They had an audition. It was coincidentally within the time frame of my break. And so I went, and actually during the audition, one of the first things they asked me was, "Why? Why do you want to join?" Of course, I wanted to sound really smart, and I didn't want to say that I had some free time to kill. So I really
Okay.
wanted to impress them, and I said that, well, because I want to show everyone that being dark is not a problem. I mean, it's true. It
Mm-hmm.
was true when I said it. It's just that at that time, I didn't put enough emphasis. Like it was just, okay, what's the smartest answer to give right now? It was one
Of
of those.
course, you want to impress, right?
Yeah, so I said that, and
Mm.
that kind of, I guess, stuck because like I didn't think I would even get through the auditions, right? And then I got
Right.
through the auditions, And then we had quarterfinals, and we had semifinals and the finals. So at every stage, it was like when they were announcing the short list, like I would be thinking to myself, like, nah, it's not gonna be me. It's not gonna be me. And next thing
Okay.
you know, you have Mogana Sundri Mahalingam, and then I'll be like, how? How
Right.
did this happen? And then the first two times it was just like, okay, maybe just luck, And when I went to the finals as well, I was pretty confident, like it's not gonna work out for me. I'm just gonna go have fun.
Mm.
Uh, even my dad said it, like, don't think about the crowd, just go have fun and come back. Like, I mean, you have to appreciate the skin color, all this plays a role, stuff like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, how it's always been. Why
Mm.
would I win? And
Mm.
like I said, it was just to have fun. So I
Right.
went purely to have fun, and I
Mm-hmm.
did have a lot of fun, in
Right.
addition to actually winning and bringing the crown.
Mm.
You were there.
So yes, I was. I was there, I think, during your talent round as well. And you
Yes,
stood out
apology for that. Yes,
because you did this contemporary dance,
yes,
as
yes.
opposed to the usual classical dancing or like, singing
Correct.
or painting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But before, okay, so you were talking briefly, right? So I'm going to go in detail. So
Sure.
when you decided to join the pageant, and yeah, obviously the main factor contributing to that decision was the fact that you were on a break,
Yeah.
right? Did anything else, any kind of thoughts, deter you from even signing up?
I think it was purely self confidence. Really, can you imagine? Like, you see, growing up, I saw myself in a lot of ways. I mean, okay, I think a lot of brown people would relate to this. Like my
Mm,
family members, extended family members, have always reminded me, at least, that I'm dark.
right.
So I'm from Strumban,
Mm-hmm.
small town. Everyone's pretty chill. And then you come to KL, where it's a city. Everybody looks good. Everybody's put together, and then you try to keep up with that, which is not always the easiest thing
Right.
to do. And
Mm,
so when I walked in the audition, I still remember there was this one girl who walked in. She looked so confident. She looked so good, and I was just like, maybe this is not the right thing for me.
right.
But then I was like, this is one girl. It has to be more that's going to come in, right? I don't know why I thought if more came in, I'll be more
I think
confident.
I
But
remember this conversation. I think I asked you about your audition experience and you were telling me about this.
yeah, so that's the thing, right? I thought to
Mm,
myself, if more girls came in, I'll feel better. But no, I didn't. They all looked so good. It's
right.
like they came out of a runway and they were just like, oh, I'm very free right now. I'm going to go join a pageant. And then there's me, like, kelang kabut, like, don't really know what formal wear is, got
Right.
like the easiest blouse and skirt pairing and just went with it and wore like
Mhm.
kitten heels and that also can't walk straight. And just went, and it was largely and predominantly the fact that I wasn't confident or I had little to no self-esteem. I was like,
Right.
can I do this? Is this something I can do? Is this something I can pull off throughout the 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. So, which is why I was like, okay, so the worst thing that could come out of this today, which is the audition, right, was that I don't get selected. So I
Right.
thought I have nothing much to lose other than not getting through the auditions. So that
Mm,
was kind of what like, went through my head, and I was like, okay, let's just wing it and go with it and just see how far I get.
mm. And I like how you said that despite seeing so many girls out there who, seem to be out of like your league and things like that, you didn't, I mean, you are saying that you don't have confidence, you didn't have confidence, you didn't have enough self-esteem. But I think the fact that you signed up for it
Right.
already shows a certain amount of self-esteem. And that is very, very commendable. And the fact that you stuck through with it, you pushed through despite feeling inferior, and then you felt like, okay, you know what? What's the worst that could happen? I'm just gonna have fun. And I think a lot of people have to take on this mentality in whatever they do, I feel.
I mean, I think it's also because of how we are as people, right? Like it's a very Asian thing. We were so focused, our education, we go to work. I mean, so this was
Mm,
just a bucket list thing, you know.
mm,
Let's just join a pageant, By the time I'm 30, I look back and I'm like, hey, I joined a pageant, good times. It was one of
yes.
those. But I mean, I don't want to just put it there that you have to participate because it's fun. But there are women who come in because this is their goal, and
Mm,
those are
mm,
equally commendable. So I think as long as you have the choice and whatever goal that you want to go with this pageant, I think you should be fine. But
right,
yes, thank
right.
you for the compliment, by the way. Signing up
But
for
that's
those
some, because that was something I've admired about you from the get-go, from the first time I met you. So yeah, that's so important, especially for young girls. And you were only 21. I mean, like to have that amount of confidence. I'm 32 now. I don't think I have that much confidence yet. I'm still working on it.
10. Slowly but surely.
Yeah, yeah, slowly but surely. So earlier you told me like, okay, it's a bucket list. Did you? I mean, did you notice that most of the time, right? Oh yeah, before we continue, I would just like to remind to those of us, to those of y'all who are watching, you can comment, you can ask questions. I will later show this to Ms Mogana so that she can answer your questions in a bit. Okay. So yeah, so you were telling that it is a bucket list. Why do you think pageantry is such important part of our culture to the point that almost all girls, I mean even I used to imagine having a crown on my head. Like why do you think it's glamorized and it
I
seems like
think
something that you want to aspire to so much?
I think it's a lot of validation. It comes with a lot of validation.
Mm,
Can you imagine? You watch so much of media, you read magazines, you look at books.
right,
Look at books like any young adult novel, right?
right,
Just look at the way the female characters are described. The
right.
male character gets this whole, oh my god, brown eyes that glistens in the sun. You get all that.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
it's a female character, this is me, stumpy, kind of tall, lanky, not so great looking, but
Mm,
okay looking. That's what you
mm,
get. You look
mm-hmm,
at the
mm-hmm,
media, and if you're Indian, the
mm,
media you look at is going to be some white chick coming from Britain going, I only speak konjam konjam Tamil. So
right,
how?
right.
You look at very limited representations. You don't get
Mm-mm.
to see a full range of it, which
Right.
sucks because my nieces or my cousin sisters, they're all pretty much like me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's
Mm-hmm.
just different shades of brown, and we all look at this same media, and the way we consume it is going to be so different. So
Right.
pageants, we don't see the background, we don't see the behind the scenes. What we see
Mm.
is probably 30 women being pit against each other to see who's the most beautiful,
Right.
right?
Mm.
So as long as you are within the requirements, which usually doesn't say things like you have to be a certain shade or a certain look, right? It's as long as you're a certain height, a certain weight, I think, and then you're fine,
Mm-hmm.
good to go. So
Right.
anybody can join. So
Mm.
ideally, it's accessible to any woman out there who wants to
Mm.
do it. She can go, and she's going to compete with all these other women who also had an equal chance. They're going to
Right.
do various rounds, which we
Mm.
think assesses their agility, their thinking, physique, or whatever it is, and then they
Mm.
get crowned. So it feels very fair and square in that sense. What we
Mm.
see,
Mm.
what we see feels very fair and square.
Right.
And they get crowned, and you feel like, hey, yeah, she looks great, and if I look like her, I feel validated. I feel like, yes, that's how I want to look like. It feels nice. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we all look up to that, and I think it's valid because when you don't see yourself represented enough, and then you finally
Mm.
see it somewhere in one corner, nook or cranny, you feel like, yes, I'm going to hold on to this for as long as I can. Because I
Mm. Mm.
remember
Mm.
watching this universe, I think back in, I think it's 2011. Uh, I think the queen was from Africa. I think I don't know which country.
Right. Okay.
So beautiful, but she was so dark, right? She's like this
Right.
melanin goddess. And I looked
Right.
at it and I was like, hey, why are my Barbie dolls that color anyways? Because they would
Mm.
look cool.
Mm.
But I feel like Barbie dolls. Don't ask me why. I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking like, why aren't my Barbie dolls that shade? And then I was like, but
Right.
it's okay. I'm kind of that brown. I'm almost there. This is not dark enough. But it kind of felt like, hey, someone like me kind of won. That's kind of cool,
Right. Right. Yes. Yes.
So
Mm.
things like that leave an impression on you. You remember them. Like unfortunately, I don't remember most of the queens from Miss Universe, but I
Right.
remember this one because she stood out like
I
that.
think I think she was Miss Nigeria. I think we're talking about the
Maybe
same pageant. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
The same year. Yeah.
don't remember, but she stood out for that very reason because she looked
Mm.
different from the rest. Because I'm so used to the common queens that win,
Very
and
Eurocentric. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and then suddenly she won, and I was like, yeah, it made sense. She competed equally, fair and square, and she won. Like wow,
Mm.
yeah. That's what I think. I think it's a lot that has to do with validation and the lack of representation.
Mm. So when you were throughout the process, like you did say that, okay, during the audition, it was like, what's gonna happen? What's the worst that could happen? But then you got through the audition,
Mhm.
and then you had so many steps along the way, right? So how did did anything change after you got through the audition?
Uh, well, I mean, my friends would tease me. Uh,
Right.
I think at the quarterfinals, I didn't take it seriously. I was pretty much
Okay.
playing aloof because I still didn't think this was actually happening.
Mm, mm,
And then we got shortlisted for the semifinals, which was an environmental aspect. So in MMIG, you have different programs. So there's the environmental factor that comes in a lot of in the semifinals. So you do environmental related programs,
mm,
and the first stage is a lot of personal development, and then finally it's only at the end that you see the whole glitz and glam part. So it
mm,
focuses a lot on you as a person, how to develop yourself, and how you can bring that back to the community, which
mm.
is what really drew me into the pageant in the first place.
Right.
So when I reached the semi-finals, I kind of took it a bit more seriously because there was also exams in it.
Okay.
I took it a bit more seriously, but then
You
it
wrote an
also
essay, remember? I think, yeah, there was
yes,
an essay that you had to write. Yes.
yes. I was so
Yeah.
late for that. I will never forget. Yes, so the it got intense because
Mm,
it was I think in the beginning we had 40 of us and then it became 30. So I was like, oh, like God, like people are getting eliminated. So it feels a bit real, like risky at
right.
this point. So I was like, okay,
Mm,
maybe I should, stop playing aloof and like pay a bit more attention. But it still wasn't in the context of me wanting to win the crown. It was more
mm,
like
mm.
maybe I should stop being a child and behave like an adult and be disciplined and do what I need to do.
Right.
It was more of that. So I think that's what really changed. And
Mm,
this was the first time I was spending this much of time with Indian women and women in general. Like I grew up alone. I mean, like only child and everything. So I have a very limited number of friends.
mm,
And that's like large group of people around me as friends, and they were all women, right? It was a bit new, so I was getting used to a lot of that.
mm, mm, mm. And how was that? How was the feeling of that um, sisterhood of the pageant? The female camaraderie of pageants. Was that a good experience for you? Because it's not the case all the time.
It's very cool, I think, for me because I was the youngest in my batch, so I
Mm-hmm.
got the upper hand in the sense that no matter what. I mean, yeah, there were days when we had disagreements, we would argue. I think that's pretty normal in any friendship, relationship, it's the same. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I, until today, really appreciate is the fact that I know for a fact that because they're much older to me, they're all of them, they're all, whether it's 2 years or whether 5 years, whatever that I think that I'm struggling with now, that I think I cannot surpass, I think I cannot get through for the life of me, that I'm going to die on this hill, I know they have gone through it. And they're
Okay.
literally just a call away, and I just have to go like, hey, this happened. Do you have any advice? Like, how do I go about it? And I
Mm.
can guarantee you one of them will have the answer. So
Right.
that was like for me it was a big deal because can you imagine like you have like so for me it was like about 14 older women who would have all this foresight that I don't have, but I don't have to
Mm.
worry anymore because I can ask them like this is
Mm-mm-mm.
happening, what do I do? And I'm gonna have 14 different versions of guidance into whatever I'm doing. So
Mm.
to me that was a huge big deal really.
Right. Right. Um, so when you were talking about this, how to say it, I mean, basically when you have someone to advise you, you wouldn't feel alone, right?
Yeah.
So when you were in the pageant, when you were doing all those activities together and then you were getting through different stages together, um, were there like, for example, any issues, any sort of like competitiveness, perhaps?
I don't know. Okay, this may differ with batches, but our batch
Mm.
was actually pretty chill.
That's good to know. Mm.
Everybody was just there to like enjoy the moment and like have fun really. And even when we meet up now, we still try to see if we can identify instances like that. But we just go back to like, oh, we're all really too chill, lah. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if this is the same with other batches. I mean, we always wonder.
Mm.
Even with the organizers, we were pretty close with them. We were having a lot of fun. We used to meet up for tea. Yeah, there was a lot of good times. I don't think I can't even really recall anything that was terribly bad that
Mm.
scarred me for life or anything. But no lah. I think I have to say no for that question.
That's great.
Good times.
And I was reading all the articles that were written about you, your interviews, right? And there were so many touching stories about how random people approached you and they were like, they felt
Oh,
represented, right? So the thing is, that is after, right?
yeah.
During the pageant and growing up,
Okay.
um, how supportive were your family or maybe only your parents in terms of, colorism?
Oh, my house actually. Okay, so it's my mom, me, Appa, obviously. So three of us, and
Mm-hmm.
so Amma was pretty simple about things. She wasn't much into. She didn't see this as a problem really because she's
Right.
like, you were born with this skin. I don't really see what's the issue with it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But she acknowledges that my relatives used to a bit bug me about it. Like, maybe you should try
Right.
this cream. I do understand that all this comes from a good place, like
Good place. Yes.
well intentions. Like,
Mm.
again, it goes back to being validated. It goes back to media, right? Because we always see being fair is the better way. I mean,
Right.
I've seen so many fair and lovely ads that say that if you use fair and lovely, you'll get a job.
You get a job, you get a guy, everything.
So, I can understand my extended
Yeah.
family going like, maybe if I get this from Mogana, then, she'll get a job, a man, or whatever it is that she's seeking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
my mom didn't see this as a problem at all.
Yep.
And when it came to things like acne or boys, she's like, it will come to you in time, which is, at that time, it was very frustrating to hear because, at 13, 14, I was like, no, I want an instant answer to this solution. I mean, this solution to this problem. But
Mm.
now I'm like, yes, yes, you were absolutely right. Things will come in due time. So Appa was a bit more interesting though.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't allow me to buy any whitening products.
That's amazing. Okay.
So he would say, he would be like, if we go to the cash and carry to get creams and stuff, and of course, so Mogana, when she was 13 years old, every month she wants to try a new cream because she couldn't
Right.
stand her acne and she wanted to be as white as snow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So every time I wanted to buy something that had any form of whitening, whether it's Pond's or it's Fair and Lovely and all these
Mm.
other products,
Mm.
right? Appa will say no.
Okay.
He's like, you cannot have all this whitening. I don't want all this rubbish in my house. And then if you ask him why, he'll just say, because your skin color is what you're born with, it's not a problem. Don't make it a
Mm.
problem.
Mm, mm,
You
mm.
know? But of course, he jokes about it, lah. But I don't know whether he realized how important that was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
You
is
know?
so important.
So, of course, at 13, 14, I was angry, lah. The more he did
Yeah.
that, the more I wanted Fair and Lovely. But,
Correct.
until I've never used Fair and Lovely and I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know how it works and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
because of that, and by the time I was 16, 17, I kind of just forgot about all this. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
very focused on my acne only. And
Okay.
skin color was a problem in terms of how people would. I mean, in school, the kids make fun of me for being dark, or they sometimes
Mm.
go to the point of making fun of my dad as well because he's darker than me.
Right.
But I took it more like this is what happens in school. Like I guess I normalized it. I just
Mhm.
rationalized it for myself, which I
Right.
think God was too. Which is, I guess, something that you do in the situation because you don't want to make a fuss out of it. You don't want to tarik pasal with anyone. You
Mm-hmm.
let it be. Then I went to college.
Right.
Is where I think a lot of things changed for me because
Mm-hmm.
I think moving from Sraman to KL, although it's not very far, it was a big difference because
Right.
in KL, I think a lot of people are a bit more comfortable with how different you can look.
Okay.
People were okay with you, short, tall, fat, skinny. It didn't really
Mm.
matter to a lot of people, which was nice because
Mm.
finally I could like experiment on different looks and hairstyles and clothing without anyone really judging me.
Right.
Because these are people who are my age. They're all in the
Mm.
city. There was
Mm.
no, there wasn't much of a barrier in that sense. Like everybody's
Mm-hmm.
open. Because everyone's still figuring out who they are. That the whole in your teens thing going
Right.
on. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think growing up, I think Appa making that decision and then me moving to KL kind of changed a lot for me because by those at those two times is where I was a bit more comfortable with how I looked and how I behaved.
Mm.
I didn't feel the need to impress anyone. I didn't feel the need to I have to change myself to achieve something.
Mm, mm, mm.
So I think those two were like the most important. I had good friends in college who stuck out to me till now.
Mm.
So they've also always impressed that, really, dude, your skin looks great. I don't really see why you need to change it. And it really
Right.
doesn't affect anything.
Mm.
Support system, I guess. I think for me, it's always been a really good support system. Though they came at different periods of my life, but I think those really set things apart for me to like,
Right.
it's them constantly reminding me I look good. That eventually I'm like, oh yeah, actually I look great. I look fine. I don't need to change myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so basically the pageant happened at a pretty young age when you were 21, right? So when you
Yeah.
look back, looking back, how do you think it helped you to grow as a person?
Oh wow, that was okay. So I remember I got crowned, and my birthday was like 2 weeks later. I was
Yes.
so excited. I was like, wow, I got myself a crown for my birthday. But I think, yeah, there's a lot of growth that came with it. It was intense.
Mm,
But the 2 years after winning, it was purely because of the organizers and the kind of trainings I went through with them, and they were constantly there to push me.
mm,
Um, the sage advices they gave,
right.
it just really stuck with me till now. But I think one of the very interesting things in terms of growth, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I talked about this in any of my other interviews, but it was about me and my name. Okay, so growing up, I don't like my name because it's too long. I used to
Yeah.
ask Amma, like, why on earth would you name me Mogana Sindhi? Because I don't like filling out forms and my name being this long. Okay?
Mm-mm.
They
Especially if you have the boxes, and then sometimes you won't even
they
have
never
spaces.
fit. Can you imagine what kind of metaphor that is? Like, if my name can't fit in this document, how am I supposed to fit in this country? Like, oh my God. So, one thing our organizer taught us was that to really appreciate and trust your name. So,
Mm,
I used to go around with many nicknames,
mm-hmm.
and at the pageant, I constantly tried to use Mogana Sundari Mahalingam. Like I would,
Mm-mm-mm.
it's really long, tedious to write, but I would still use it. I'll
Mm-hmm.
actually still go try using my full name. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so of course, interviews and everything kept reciting that, right? Mogana Sundari
Right.
Mahalingam, Mogana Sundari
Yeah.
Mahalingam. So it kept going on and on. And it was the
Mm-hmm.
same thing I told myself before. So the finals is happening. So when my turn is coming up, the first time I'm appearing on stage, the one thing I told myself backstage was, okay, so everyone has seen one version of Mogana Sundari. So now
Right.
she's going to go on stage. So what kind of Mogana do I want these people,
Mm,
these 300 people in the audience to see? So like
mm.
how I present myself on stage that night was going to determine how Mogana Sundari Mahalingam is going to be.
Right.
So that really changed a lot for me. So until today, I actually consciously write Mogana Sundari Mahalingam wherever I go, or if it's too long, I do this Mogana Sundari M that you can see on the
Mm,
screen now.
mm, mm. Right.
So that's one takeaway that I think it's important. I think it's important to embrace your name and understand how
Mm.
it builds you as a person, because that's the first thing people associate you with.
Right.
You meet someone like, "Hi, yeah, I'm Mogana," but now
Mm.
I go, "Hi, yeah, I'm Mogana Sundari." I don't stop
Mm-mm.
at Mogana anymore. So I feel there's a lot
Mm-mm.
of weight to that. So that's one
Right.
huge, huge, huge growth factor takeaway, because I've managed to center myself with my name and
Mm.
kind of build around it and ensure that no matter what I do, what I say, how I bring myself up after this, it's all going to be tied down or surrounding who or what Mogana Sundari Mahalingam is. And that was
Right.
the biggest takeaway.
Mm-mm-mm. I think that's amazing because I mean, especially when you have a lot of Asian sounding names and you have something names
Yeah.
that are pretty difficult to pronounce, it's so easy to like wanting to let go of that identity.
Yes. People
Right.
used to ask me if my name. So like even now I have issues with that. Like if I tell someone like I have Morgana Sundari, oh, is it Morgana? I don't know. There's no Morgana here. Like if there's an R in Morgana, then the person's evil. Like the evil witch in Little Mermaid or in Merlin. If there's no R, it is just Morgana. Maybe this person is nice.
Right, right,
It's just
right.
no, it's just for Morgana is probably nice also, but I don't know.
So okay, um, now we're going to go into a more of a general topic. So we have spoken about your journey in the pageant and everything, right? And then as an ex beauty queen, let's talk a little bit about pageantry. So
Okay.
basically, as someone who's defied the norms in a way, right? Especially in the Asian context, how do you think pageant can work towards being more inclusive?
I think it begins with the accessibility, right? The audition level, like who you allow to come in. Because you set
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
requirements at the beginning. You have to be this height,
Right.
maybe weight,
Mm,
age, all these things.
mm.
So I think if you notice, like even in Malaysia, you see that, right? That you have Miss Petite, Miss
Yes.
Mistress Malaysia something something, or
Mm,
and then there's the Miss. Then you have like Miss Grand, which is or like I don't know, very specific one. So instead of being just entirely accessible, you've narrowed down to different pageants which cater for different requirements. So Miss Petite will require you to be petite, I presume. And if you have like a Mrs. Malaysia, you'd be married. So I
mm.
think be more inclusive generally, you would have to make your opening, which is the audition, really wide. But on a very practical sense, that's quite impossible because
Yeah.
costing, how
Yes.
many people you want to vet through. You
Mm.
have all these different things.
Mm.
So I think practically it's a bit impossible. So I suppose the approach that Malaysia has taken, which is like a various set of pageants that caters for different kinds of people, is pretty important.
Mm.
Unless you're looking to like establish the most perfect looking person, then you allow every requirement lah. Anyone can masuk, can try to audition, and then from there we
Mm.
will see who will win. Kind of like I think that's also what like Harvin Skin is doing with his show, right? Like he gets anyone and everyone to come and perform whatever your talent is. You
Mhm.
perform,
Mhm.
and then I
Mhm.
will shortlist from there. So if you
Mm.
want to do something like that, then yeah, then you're going to get a better barometer of things because you're going to allow any walk of life to come in.
Right.
Once you set an audition where you have requirements, then you're limiting yourself to whatever it is that's within the requirements, which is not too bad,
Mm.
of course. I mean, business or commercial speak, then yeah, you're looking at costing. So it's
Mm.
only practical that you narrow it down this way.
Mm.
Because I think pageants generally, you have to be what, less than 27 years old,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So
Yes.
the limitation is 27 years.
Yep.
So you're essentially in a way kind of saying like this in this age group this is the most beautiful person, so what about the other age
Right.
group, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think it's a bit difficult to just blanket have a pageant like that and be like anybody come in and I will see who's the best.
Mm.
So I do think the approach we have here is pretty okay in that sense where you have Miss
Right.
Petite for like tinier women or petite women, and you have I think you also have like very state ones for like Miss Johor, Miss I don't know, Miss KL and Miss
Yeah.
Selangor.
And then you have Miss Kirby.
Yeah, so
Mm.
I guess when you emphasize on curvy, that's going to be a body positivity issue. So I'm not going to go into that. I think that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Exactly. Mm.
But yeah, so I think in that context, it's probably like inclusive because you're allowing more avenues to bring in this
Mm.
kind of different looking people to see if they work or not.
Mm. 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 But you see, when you were describing the ways we could diversify pageants, and you was
Mm-hmm.
more on like states, and then again going back to physique, petite, and
Yeah.
or even age factor, or even marital status, right? Okay, now the moment you join a pageant, how do you think the categories, or the different, how to say, you have different competition within the pageant, right? You have talent round, you have
Okay.
interview sessions, right? So
Right.
how do you think you want to make it as slightly more inclusive in that sense as well? Like it doesn't have to be completely being judged on the physique only. And I think you have good things to say about your pageants. Am I right?
No, yeah, I do. I do. I mean, ours was so. Let's see. At the personal development stage, it was about things like nutrition and stuff like that. So we had to talk about the stuff we ate. That was
Mm-hmm.
so embarrassing because I did not eat anything healthy. um, so we had that, and there was we had to clean the beach because
Mm-hmm.
we were based in PD at that time. At the
Mm-hmm.
semifinals, was environmental, so we were talking about pollution. We also had fitness, so we had to do the marathon. We had to run a bit.
Right.
So yeah, we
Yeah.
did cover a lot of aspects, and we also had to do
Mm.
mental health in the terms of law of attraction. We
Mm.
did a variety of things. So I
Mm.
think, so to answer your question, yeah, I think MMIG did cover a lot of bases. So I'm going to try and see if I can think of something that's not MMIG so that I try to sound a bit original. But honestly, it's a bit difficult
I
because
think
everybody
um
everybody stands out differently.
mm,
So I always feel very hard to put a marker and be like, this person against everybody else is better because it's just like how you have schoolmates. Like I
yeah,
used to suck at physics, but I was really
right.
good at bio. But my friends would be like, "Oh, I suck at bio," but they're
Mm,
really good at physics. And it doesn't mean we both suck at science.
right.
Our strength is just that I was more for bio and the other one is more for physics. So similarly, like even talent round, right? It's always limited to singing, dancing, acting.
Mm-hmm.
But what if my talent is, dismantling a whole motorcycle and rebuilding it back in 30 seconds?
Exactly.
So is
And
that
for the
not
longest
talent?
time, I feel like for the longest time that was like my biggest turn off for pageants because like I don't want to sing, I don't want to dance, and yeah.
Wait, what did you do for your talent round?
Oh, I did a self defense demo.
Yes, okay, I remember now. I think
Yeah,
you
yeah,
told
yeah.
me. Or I think I saw the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's very hard to actually find a way
Mm,
for you to just. I think because singing, dancing, and acting is probably a bit easier to get people to kind of participate because someone's going to be a bathroom singer for sure.
Yeah.
Somebody probably dances when everyone's asleep.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
a lot of us definitely do YouTube tutorials while we're doing our makeup. So I'm pretty sure it's a bit easier to get people to participate in things like that. Because I
Mm,
think to expand it, right, you will have situations where you don't know how to narrow down the guidelines and say you can do this, you can't do that.
mm,
So having a test, of course, tests things like your memory skills, your presentation skills, having the interviews and all that helps in that aspect. And
right.
so I think you have to be able to have tests that test you on paper qualifications, maybe
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
interviews and presentations and stuff like that, and also things that's skill based, whether
Right.
it's survival skills, um, homemaking skills. I don't know, any kind of skill. As long as it's a
Mm,
skill that you have that you can showcase it to people, I think that's a good way to also gauge how much you can do without paper qualifications being the only basis.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I think one of a good example would be Miss America, because I think recently they forgo the swimsuit round. They have cancelled. They've removed the swimsuit round, and they are uh, I think they are replacing it with interview segment. So
Okay.
I think it gives a platform as well for the women to speak,
Right.
during the interview, and you kind of get to gauge their personality
Yeah.
and their worldview and their thinking that way, rather than just looking
Looking
at
at
their
them in
body
swimsuit.
with a
Yes.
swimsuit.
Though I have to admit that the swimsuit rounds were my favorite.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, for me as well, as just to ogle
Just
at
like,
them as like
wow, so
exactly.
confident.
Yeah, yeah.
Even in Miss Universe also, like the swimsuit rounds always like blow me off when like wow, like that's insane. How do you guys do that? I know they have this capes and all that they wear. It just
Yes,
gives them
yes,
like fairies and so good, so good. But
right.
okay, that's really interesting though to completely because if I'm not mistaken, the Miss America pageant, one of the best rounds is always a swimsuit round, whether it's for the audience, for the judges, or for the contestants. So
Mm,
it's interesting to see that they've removed something that was so pivotal to all their pageants. I mean,
correct.
they live for the swimsuit rounds.
Yes,
So
yes.
yes, but one thing I like about the Miss America pageants nowadays, especially, you will see a lot of army officers, people
Mm,
in uniform participating. So that's really really nice because it's
yeah,
no longer something where it's something feminine and dainty in that sense.
correct.
Any female can participate, and I think that's
Yeah.
really really amazing because you shouldn't
And
limit that.
yeah, and
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, Miss America is one of those pageant where the prize money is basically full scholarship for your studies.
yes, I
I
remember.
think
I
so.
recall seeing it
Yeah.
somewhere as well.
Yeah. But talking about how we all happen to wait for that swimsuit round, right? So as I was preparing for this episode, I was just, searching for articles and debates
Okay,
on beauty pageants and things like that. And then I watched this film that just came out last year, about it was based on a true story that happened in 1970. I think it was Miss World 1970. And it was at the peak of the women's liberation movement,
okay,
right? So they are like marching on the streets and saying, you don't do beauty pageants. At that point, beauty pageant had more viewers than the moon landing. Okay, so yeah, yeah. And so you had this women liberation movement going on the street saying that, this is not a cattle market, we don't show off bodies like that. And then there's this different perspective, which
hmm,
is from the winner of 1970 Miss World, which was Miss Grenada. And she was the first colored woman to win. And
okay,
for her, it was a different experience, right?
correct.
Like for her, it was a platform. For her, it's a place for her to also show the girls of a country that say, hey, look at you. You can look like me and you can win a beauty pageant. I'm the
Yeah.
most beautiful girl in the world right now. So that's like I love how the movie balanced both
Okay.
about feminism and there's a section of women fighting for not having pageants, and then there's
Yeah.
this section where sometimes we need this as our voice,
Yes.
right? And it's always a discussion and a thing that I've always thought, like in the beginning I've always like been against pageants, and then I joined one. Yes, I used, yeah, but what do you think? Do you think pageants are feminists? Feminists? Do they empower women?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, uh, you give them a platform, like
Mm,
so. Okay, this is one thing again. I know I sound really biased to MMIG, but it's because they've done that.
yes.
They are a platform for a lot of women of different walks of life, and it's really interesting because like I never thought a pageant could do something like that until I saw it from my own eyes.
Mm,
I was never against pageants because I used to obsess over watching them on TV. But it was more like I never saw the practicality of it.
Right.
Okay, so then MMIG comes along and it just shows me something completely different because sometimes being empowered or having a say or having a choice in anything doesn't necessarily have to come with just it's not or maybe it's not enough. Like sometimes just having your degree, a good job and everything doesn't get the point across.
Right.
People still look at you as a certain way, how they've decided to look at you. But when you get yourself on a platform like a pageant,
Right.
suddenly everybody takes notice.
Mm.
You know, it's even something like this, right? Like this kind of interviews. Like if I had not won the pageant, let alone even I'm pretty sure even if I didn't win, I had gone like halfway through, somebody would have been curious enough to be like, "Hey, Mogana, how did you get this far?" Put
Okay.
me on an article and be like, "Wow, you know, dark skinned girl goes all this way for pageant." It's because I piqued someone's curiosity by
Right.
getting on that platform, by being given a chance to go on that platform.
Mm.
Had I been your average Joe and not gone that far, not even done anything, no one's going to really listen to me, are they? No one's going to ask me these questions. No one's going to be curious enough to know about these things. So just like me, there are a bunch of women
Yes.
out there who want to have a say in something. They want to say a lot of things, and often not, they just don't get the platform for it. So pageants,
Yes.
because as I was saying earlier, like more often than not, the auditions are pretty okay. Like generally, a lot of people can participate. So you're actually
Mm.
opening doors for a lot of different kinds of women to actually just go in and be like, maybe if I get this far enough, I can push myself, elevate myself to a different position. I can
Mm.
use this to do something, 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 you know.
Right.
I guess it's kind of like how people see things like politics or going into MNCs and being in high positions because the power that comes with it or the position
Mm.
you're in, it gives you
Mm.
enough credibility to say stuff. It gives you
Right.
position or a platform or people trust you a little bit more than usual and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I would like to hear your opinion on it, which is what education does for a lot of us. But sometimes you kind of need a little bit of extra,
Yes.
you know?
Mm.
So I do think pageants does empower you. I mean, the
Mm.
fact that see feminism again, like I know a lot of people feel like it's a men hating bandwagon, which is not. It's a lot about elevating and ensuring women have equal choices, opportunities, and the good thing about supporting feminism is men also get to share that same equal opportunities because once you know level the playing field for important aspects of life and your rights, everybody gets a chance. I
Right.
mean, that's why we have a lot of paternity leave now, right?
Mm.
Men get to participate in the homemaking process and taking care of kids and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I think anything that allows you, that gives you choice, that gives you empowerment, gives you a chance or a platform to speak, or
Mm.
that accessibility, right? I think
Right.
pageants do that as well. I
Mm.
definitely think they are feminine, although it's like an object, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's about finding a good balance because the debate is going to be never ending because
Yeah,
you can't escape the physical aspects of the beauty pageant. It is still
correct.
very physical centric. You still look at looks, you still, look at the body and things like that. But trying to make it a bit more balanced
Yeah.
and trying to give voices to really talented women, I think would help to kind of like balance whatever stigma the beauty pageants tend to
I
have.
also think local pageants in general of any kind helps you with representation.
Mm-mm-mm.
You know, because I think a lot of little girls are not gonna they may not gonna they're not gonna watch Miss Universe all the time, Miss World. But
Yeah.
can you imagine a lot of little girls growing up constantly now, especially going like, oh, my cousin's sister has joined a pageant, my sister has joined a pageant, you know, my aunt was in a pageant. And they feel like, oh, my aunt is so beautiful, like I look like her, I have her smile. It's a lot of really good positive representation. You don't need to go
Mm-mm-mm.
really far even, you know, as long as you
Yeah.
can associate yourself with the person, right? That's it. It's
Right.
set. It's a done deal. So I,
Correct.
I think pageants do that, especially local level pageants or like the
Mm.
national within the country. I think
Right.
they really support that representation for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think that's not going to be a straight answer for this question.
Definitely not. You know, sometimes I don't know why people always think only women watch pageants. Men also watch pageants, and I also know men who watch pageants and feel inspired or they feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not
Mm-hmm.
just a female thing, you know. I think it's
Right.
anyone and
Okay.
everyone.
I'm going to show you somebody's comment here who says, "We still want to hear you, Mox, winner or not." Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, you and okay, everybody. I call her Akka, so please bear with that as well. So you and Akka, you know, owe me dinner, and I
Yeah,
will
we're
talk.
supposed to.
I will
Yeah,
talk
we're
in the
supposed to have
first
dinner
need.
together. And I think, okay. I guess this would be a good question to wrap up as well.
Oh
Basically,
wow, you mean it's already been an hour that I've been talking?
it's been 45 minutes.
I'm sorry, everyone.
No, it's been great. Okay, I have actually another question as well, but let me see. Should I show that first? Yes, I think I
Oh,
want to show this question first. Right. So Devasri is asking, is pageant environment a healthy, conducive environment? I'm curious. As women are put in training to walk a certain way, present oneself in a certain way, again, aren't we just further reinforcing the society's beauty standards and stereotypes?
okay. So this is really interesting, and I think it's a very valid question too. And this
Mm,
goes back to what we were just talking about. There's no straight answer to it. You
right.
still reinforce certain things. Yes, we have to walk a certain way, present ourselves a certain way, but I think that one falls in the same context of you wearing uniforms in school. Everybody has to look a certain way so you can establish a baseline for you to judge someone.
Yes,
So we
exactly.
say the same things, we kind of look the same way, we're all painted with the same similar colors of makeup and whatnot,
Mm,
so
mm,
that
mm.
they can judge you because everybody looks equal. That's the
Right.
main reason for it. But it does, yes, reinforce because you're going to make everyone look alike, you know.
Mm,
Like how people complain about watching The Bachelor and like, oh, every white girl looks the same.
yeah.
It's a common problem, and in pageants you have the same thing as well. So I cannot give you a straightforward answer to say that no or yes. It's a bit
Mm-hmm.
of both.
Right.
But no matter how much you kowtow to all these rules, right, that you have to walk this way, walk in 6-inch heels and whatnot, your personality will still stand out.
Yeah.
I've watched so many batches come after me, and despite the fact that we all walked the same way throughout the years, every girl's personality still stands out. I don't know how, but it just
Mm-hmm.
does. By the end
Mm-mm-mm.
of the show, by the time the queen is crowned, you still see the girl as the girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh
And
yeah. And
if
speaking
it's
of
healthy or not, it depends on the batch. I think there are batches that may not be so healthy.
right.
Some batches like mine was very, very healthy. We
Mm-hmm.
are still friends till now. We just celebrated a friend's bachelorette and everything. So I really think that really is one of those luck lah. If you got a good batch, it's good for you. If it's not, then unfortunately you may have to have a tighter circle within the batch.
Mm. Okay. Thank you so much, Devasri, for the question. Okay. So the question that I wanted to ask is the fact that, the problem with confidence-driven beauty, because
Okay.
obviously, I'm not talking about you having the right fit or right measurement to join the pageant. It's about you being confident with yourself,
Okay.
right? So, and that would be easier to assert. The confidence would be easier to assert if your physicality or your body reflects a widely accepted cultural norm, correct?
Yep.
Now, for somebody like you, Mogana, because you joined a pageant where being dark skinned is not a norm,
Okay.
correct? So, for girls who are probably toying with the idea of joining a pageant, how would you advise them?
Okay, so this one goes back to the first thing I was saying about my name because my if anyone okay, a lot of people think I'm very confident, but I'm not. But whatever semblance of confidence you see in me is purely because I know myself.
Right.
Uh, this is also probably because of me as a person. Like I overthink about myself. I analyze myself on a daily. So it really goes back to me understanding who Mogana Sundri Mahalingam is. Once
Mm,
again, I don't sound profound because of anything, but it's more like it's one of those things where I realize it's really important to know yourself. And that's where whatever confidence or self-esteem that comes with it, because you know what you are. You are the evidence for yourself. So you
mm,
have backing. Your backup is you, and your defense is you. Everything is you. When you
right.
have that, generally making any kind of decision is so much easier.
Mm,
Okay, and in terms of pageants, right? Yes.
mm-hmm,
So my not disadvantage, my not norm thing was me being dark, but everything else for me is socially accepted. I am tall. I am super skinny, which apparently is the ideal. I don't know if I'm size zero or not, but I'm pretty skinny. Um, what else? I think my nose is sharp. Generally, all my other features are pretty fine. Like I have no other problems. Like I mean, it's not a problem. Bad choice of word. I have no other social
things that you're
issues.
concerned about, perhaps.
Right. Like I have friends who worry about their ears. I have friends who worry about their nose, their eyebrows.
Mm,
You name it. So I don't
yeah.
worry about any of that. I only worry about the fact that oh God, I'm a whole different shade of brown.
Mm,
So I'm privileged in the other sense where I'm skinny, my waist is tiny, my hip is
Mm.
okay, and I think I have the thigh gap. I don't know the trends. I'm privileged on all those fronts. So which
Mm.
is why joining in the first place was just like, okay, I only have one setback lah. Anything else I
Right.
need to manage,
Correct. Yes.
So for everyone else who feels like you don't obviously look like me, or you feel that you're not a certain way, you
Mm-hmm.
need to remember that all of us are just jigsaw puzzles to this huge, huge picture of life.
Right.
Literally, no jigsaw puzzle fits the same way or looks the
Mm.
same way or is cut the same way. They're all, even by one minute millimeter, they're always cut off differently. So that's really what you are. So it's a lot about us finding ourselves and where we fit, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the pageant is just going to be another trial run for you to figure out where you fit.
Mm. Right.
So you just have to, if you really want to do it, you should do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Okay.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Unless you don't want to do it. Something happens along the way and you feel like this is not for me, then you don't do it. But don't
Mm.
let people tell you because people don't know.
Yes.
Everybody is telling you things that they think will happen, they think will not happen, what they think is the situation. But
Mm.
they really won't know because you may have a better way of processing the problem. You may have a whole different way of viewing things.
Right.
So one thing I like to tell everyone is never deprive yourself of the happiness only you can give yourself. So if
Mm.
you think making this decision of joining a pageant or running a marathon or learning skydiving is
Mm.
going to make you a happy person, it's going to make you better, it's going to build something, so you just do it. Even if you're confident it's not going to work out, it's okay. You're willing to try, just go for it.
Right.
Don't limit yourself. Because right at the end of the day, what nothing. Just go. It's worst case scenario, like I said, you might have fun.
Yep. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
But of
And
course,
you,
I have to
sorry?
understand that some people may not be as how to say, you have liabilities, you have commitments and stuff like that. So weigh all that first, and then see that it's okay to
So
go
many
ahead.
disclaimers.
Have to. It's part of the job. It's occupational hazard.
It's like second nature already by now.
Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, it was more like, hey, bro, your life like this, but don't blame me when things goes wrong. Lah. Now it's like
Mm-mm.
everything I say, by the way, this is just my opinion.
But I think I want to like divert a little bit because you're talking about how you analyze yourself.
Okay.
I'm very interested to know how do you analyze yourself and how do you not cross the line of being too self-critical or over-analyzing yourself.
I cross that line all the time.
Okay.
Okay, I think the quick things that I do is on my birthday. By the way, everybody, my birthday is on October 13th. If you want to buy me a gift, by all means.
Okay.
So on my birthday and also end of the year. So there's this two times when I do like a massive self-evaluation where I like sit down and be like, okay, Mogana, in the 1 year around the sun, what have you done? What have you accomplished that you think is great? And then what do you
Mm,
think that kind of sucks that you want to fix the next round of around the
mm,
sun? So end of the year is a bit more not just myself, but it's more like financially what I want to do, maybe family goals. Like I want to see my parents more often, which I also do not meet any requirement because I'm also a workaholic, which is really bad. Please don't.
right.
So I try to sit down and write these things out. So I just take a piece of paper and I write and I'll be like, okay, so within this 1 year, I've done this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then I look at A, like, okay, so not bad. I think it's a pretty good thing. Then I will continue it. If it's something I feel that's not good for me, which, like, for example, um, there was something. I think I had this one goal that I wanted to do. I'm not sure. I think it was meal prep. So I wanted to do meal prep every day. And I realized time wise, I wasn't making the cut. And I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this because
Mm,
it became a situation where I was buying ingredients and it was just getting wasted.
mm, mm, mm.
So I sat down, I was like, it is not working out for me. But then I either replace it with a new goal or I'll try something else or I just eliminate the goal completely. Lah.
Mm.
And then for like my character, I think that one is a work in progress daily because I would write things like, okay, I think I'm nice, I think I'm funny, and then I will go like my toxic trait. I feel like I can be moody, I can be short tempered, and then I'll write down like I'll branch out and I'll be like, okay, so if I'm short tempered, how do I fix that? And then I'll be like, okay, I should count to I should count 1 to 10 but in reverse until I calm down. I say these things But I can tell you, like, probably 5 out of 10 times I don't actually do it.
Mm.
So it's a lot of conscious effort, I guess. But I think it helps me to write these things down because I get to
Mm.
visualize them. Like, oh, I can see it now. So this is my problem. So I do that when
Mm.
I'm upset and sad too. Like I just take a piece of paper and I fill the piece of paper with everything that's in my head.
Right.
It could be like I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm I don't know, hungry. I just write this, right. When I look at it, I'm like, okay, so what can I delete? So as I'm doing the act of like canceling it out, I feel like I'm deleting it from my head. If that makes sense to anyone.
Mm.
So I do that. So I really do make it a point to sit with myself
Mm.
and talk to myself and be like trying to constantly define Mogana Sundri Mahalingam. So hopefully when I'm on my deathbed someday, Mogana Sundri Mahalingam is properly defined,
Right.
because every day is a work in progress. When I'm dying, I'm just lying on the bed doing nothing. So might as well be defined by then. you know.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question though. I have a tendency of rambling.
No, I think it kind of answered. I mean, it did answer my question because I feel like that was a very. I noticed that that's some sort of like a running theme that's going on in my show for the past few weeks. Like some way or another, the guest will say, "Know thyself," you know. So like, I feel like that's a very good thing because you should be very sure about who you are so that whatever people say doesn't sway you.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a lot of work in progress though. I just
Mm.
hope that people don't think that you have to get it figured out in like
Yeah.
one day. It's not like there is a book that says, how to understand Mogana 101, like there isn't one, because Mogana is also constantly evolving every day.
Yep.
And Mogana also takes a long time to understand Mogana. So it's a lot of work. So, but you're worth the effort. Like you yourself are always worth the effort.
Yep.
Not the guy or girl that's posting you at 10 p.m. Not the boss that's like saying mean things to you. It's not them. They are not worth the effort. You are worth the effort.
Mm. And I think that perfectly wraps up the episode for tonight. That was such
Aw.
a profound advice that you gave. I'm not too sure what is the demography of my viewers. They're mostly our age, but I'm really hoping like girls younger, I mean Gen Zs would listen to this and um, get a little bit of insight from this because I think they really need to know. I feel like they are the ones really struggling with the whole self-esteem issues right now. I feel because they were
Yeah.
kind of born with social media, unlike us.
Yes.
Mm.
I was born with Tyra Banks. That's about it, really. Aishwarya Rai, Susmita Sen. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see them on TV and that's about it. You don't see pretty girls all the time, 24 hours, on your
No, you
face.
do. You do. You look at yourself in the mirror, so you do.
Words. That's great. So thank you so much.
No,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you. Thanks for
basically
having
yeah, one
me.
hour. Yeah, exactly 1 hour.
Oh, yes. I'm
It's
sorry,
perfect.
everyone, that you have to listen to my voice for 1 hour.
It's great. It was great. And I felt like I had like a good catch-up session with you.
Yes. So once MCO is over, when we can go out, that's
Yeah.
so two of you owe me drinks and
Yeah,
dinner.
yeah, Marinis, definitely. So thank you so much and have a good night.
Bye
I'll
bye.
text you later.
Can.
Bye bye. Okay, thank you guys for watching, for the comments, for the questions. So if you missed any part of this episode, if you joined in late, you can always go back to the YouTube channel, Women of Essence YouTube channel, and you can find all the episodes there as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Good night and have a good weekend.